Billy Corgan is persona non grata for what happens when you become a Republican. What happens to your music, what happens to your art, what happens to the way you conceive of the reality we live in.
It's almost like every facet of like what they're putting out gets shaped around how can this build capital? Like just basically grift.
That's right.
It's
No,
like
no,
it just
that's
becomes
exactly-
a full-blown grift.
That's 1,000% right. And it's heartbreaking because this was like my rock hero. Billy Corgan is a really perfect example of someone who continuously makes, now I know this is subjective, but I would argue it's objective. He continually makes the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
Now, when you say, but Sam, like, that's just your opinion, bro. And it's like, yeah, but it's my opinion based on like emotional intelligence, wisdom, musical experience, being a snob.
Well, I think also too, like absorbing his content for 20 years, like also
Right.
makes you a pretty good authority on that.
Absorbing his content, understanding what about his music in the 90s worked and why it hit so hard and why it still hits so hard and why what he's doing now, not just with his music, but his career in general is just, it's bizarre. And he's now decided he's going to tour this summer with not the Smashing Pumpkins, even though they're going to play Smashing Pumpkins songs. He's made up a whole new band called the Machines of God, which is
oh, interesting.
The Machines of God is like a reference to Pumpkins song concept album.
Is there any crossover beyond Billy Corgan?
Okay, so they auditioned this like shredder who joined Smashing Pumpkins a year ago for the live iteration of the band. I don't think she's on any of the albums, but her name is Kiki Wong and she's part of this band.
Okay.
I'm trying to find it. I don't think this article covers it, but it's true. I'm not even sure what she's doing in Smashing Pumpkins. It's just another bizarre decision. Even though I'm sure Kiki Wong, great guitar player, but I just it's like when Billy Corgan made a whole album with Tommy Lee from Motley Crue on drums. I don't know. I just don't know what we're doing anymore. It's just so there's nothing wrong with Kiki Wong. She's probably great. It's not about her. It's about Smashing Pumpkins.
Right.
What is the brand? Who are you appealing to? Dubbed a return to zero, the Trek sees Corgan as band touring in support of the 30th anniversary of Melancholy and the 25th anniversary of Machine and the Machine of Gods. Great. Oh, and along with selections from the newest Smashing Pumpkins album. Why aren't you doing those songs with Smashing Pumpkins? I understand that they're old men and they have families.
And they might not want to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They may not want to. They want to hang out with their I get that.
Yeah.
That's not my complaint. My complaint is why then is the decision like, well, shit, I want to make money. It's the 30th anniversary, 20th anniversary. I want to play these songs. Isn't there a way to make it work? Can't you just find like, yeah, we'll just tour in October and
like work around people's schedules, make something happen?
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just another example of like, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, is it likely that he sees the same type of audience that he would with the Smashing Pumpkins name?
No. So this is like rough math, right? But
Okay.
let's say Smashing Pumpkins plays to 20,000 people at Hollywood Bowl, but they're opening for Jane's Addiction. Look at how many times that money gets split and look at the overhead. Look at how expensive it is.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So by the time it gets into Billy's pocket, sure, he played a dope ass show to 20,000 people, but he's making way more cake just doing this weird solo tour where he pays, they're all probably getting paid minimum wage kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Or at least like not good enough to warrant what it requires to do this kind of thing.
So are these like 5,000 cap venue type deals or?
No. This is 1,000 cap.
Oh, so even smaller. Okay.
Anyway, that's what I have to say about William Corgan until we get to the newest episode of his really cringy podcasts where I'm just going to call it what it is. He's an asshole and all of his guests are assholes.
He kind of played nice with Corey Feldman though.
He's playing nice, but he's actually an asshole.
Yeah, he's got
You see
like a
what I'm saying?
malicious intent behind his playing nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and like
trying to get him to drop some bombs.
He knows that Corey Feldman's music is trash or like that the joy you get from it is like you're ridiculous.
He totally understands the public perception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's playing dumb to appeal to Corey's like emotional wounds, which is kind of gross.
It's definitely exploitive.
It is exploitative. So this is Richie Sambora. I call him Richie Samosa, the guitarist of Bon Jovi.
Understand something that very few people understand.
Oh.
There's that feeling where you're like, wow, this is going to work. Big time.
No, there's no way you know when something's gonna work. Half of it's luck. Let's be real here.
Wait, but okay, that aside, the arrogance of you and me, we know things that like, these peasants don't understand.
Yeah.
Which is when something's gonna work.
I've seen countless interviews from countless musicians who are like, yeah, I thought this one was gonna be a hit. Like I had that feeling in the studio and it completely flopped. And then I've heard the opposite story where someone's like, we pumped it out in 15 minutes. I thought it'd do terrible. And then it goes crazy.
Billy is just world building to to, again, appeal to this guy's ego. That's all it is.
Yeah, totally.
And also what Billy's doing, very subtle, is he's saying, I'm so sophisticated, but look at me interviewing all these like artists of bands that you're not supposed to respect.
Yeah.
So he interviews Gene Simmons from Kiss. He interviews this guy from Bon Jovi. He interviews Corey Feldman. Sure, Tom Morello's respectable, but it's almost like he's going for the freaks and goblins.
It reminds me of the Finn McKenty strategy a little bit.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's dark.
Finn's more like obvious with it, I would say, whereas maybe he's being a little more evergreen about his approach, whereas Finn's like hammering on the right wing, like Rodney Radke or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Things
like
of that nature.
Billy's trying to show us like, wow, he's such an every guy while having this air of sophistication. I don't know. It's just everything about it. Just
it's kind of like early Elon.
It's a little Elon energy for sure.
I love it. I still do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look at that cross, man. A smaller cross would not do with this man. He needed a big cross.
It gives a whole new meaning to living on a prayer.
Do you know what your rep is with the alternative musicians?
Oh my God. See?
Your reputation.
See what he's doing the thing that I said he was doing.
And he literally leaned in, like that caught his attention. He's like,
you're very
tell me about
respected
it.
with the alternative community
That's fantastic.
because they see you as a musician's musician.
Thank you.
This is hogwash, my brother.
well, what does that even mean? A musician's musician?
He's okay. What he's saying is, I know that artsy types like me,
yeah.
musicians, people have been in the industry for years who are doing it day in, day out.
Like he's making music for people like that?
Let's just talk about the 90s alternative scene, right? He's implying that like the likes of, I don't know, Eddie Vedder and fucking members of Soundgarden and members of Stone Temple Pilots, actually they really appreciate and love Bon Jovi and they don't see it as
Just like
crap.
Garbage, yeah.
Corporate garbage.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And what Billy's saying is like, no.
They respect you musician to musician.
It's smoke and mirrors. It's all a smoke screen. He's just blowing fucking smoke up his ass.
Yeah.
For a lot of the rock guys, the alternative community kind of go, too obvious, too lame, too cheesy. They want it too bad. You have a different rep because...
I did not know that. Thank you.
yeah.
It's because it's not true.
This feels like the same way that
It's not true.
that A&Rs in like a studio meeting
Yes!
when they're about a 365 deal, an artist, they're like, yeah, you're the greatest thing that's ever came. Now sign all of your music rights away for 10K. Like it feels like that
It's
type
so,
of vibe.
Oh my God, it so is.
So if he is doing that, he is glazing him up to like warm him up in the beginning of this. Where does this lead?
It leads to him. He learned this technique from Howard Stern.
Right.
He's been interviewed by Howard Stern so many times, and Billy Corgan is high IQ enough to know that this will lead to him being able to ask either extremely vulnerable questions in which no other interviewer has gotten like the depth, right, of those kind of answers.
Types of things. Yeah.
Or like with the Corey Feldman thing, he wants to embarrass, he's not on purpose trying to embarrass him, but he's trying to get something salacious to get clicks.
Right.
And-
Otherwise, it's just a boring glaze fest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would be the angle with someone like Richie Sambora?
I think ultimately Billy's angle, let's call it a meta angle.
Okay, like overarching.
Overarching angle is to be in with the elites.
Oh, I see. Right. Like the people who are the household names of
That's
their
right.
time.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. He cares more about that, which is why he's gone to the dark side. He cares more about that than art itself.
That makes sense.
He abandoned art a long time ago.
Yeah.
And now he's just, it's very similar to Trump or
Yeah.
Elon. Like, no, I don't want to be accepted by like the wealthiest and most powerful. I'm a badass. Nah, bro.
It's like you are in that like completely.
And not only is he in that completely, it's like he's greedy about it.
Yeah.
And he wants more and more and power.
Almost to create an inner circle in the inner circle.
That's right. It's all about power
Yeah.
and control. And to that point, did you know that Billy's wife is like, I mean, they've had a couple kids, so I imagine at this point she's like 25. They married when she was like fucking, 19 or some shit.
Oh, yeah, borderline stuff.
Yeah. And he owns a wrestling federation.
Wait, Billy Corgan's wife is 25 right now?
There's more to it. They met through I think he runs WWE. Do I have that right?
Billy Corgan runs WWE.
I want to make sure that's the right one.
So he's the one who's telling The Rock to do all these crazy moves on John Cena?
Oh, he owns that. Sorry. The third one, NWA.
Wait, it's called NWA?
Yeah.
Wait, that's crazy.
It's crazy, bro.
Is it in that same vein as like WWE where it's like scripted wrestling kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's been around since the 40s. The point is that Billy married a teenage wrestler. This guy's soul is, I think it's black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's no way.
He's got no aura, and if he does, it's black.
You got a real rep because people understand where you're coming from.
Thank you.
Like you'll hear people like
The glazing continues.
So, me and Bob are friends, right? So he's great.
Bob.
You know, Kid Rock.
Oh, okay.
That's
Oh
overt.
my God.
That's overt.
What are you You're telling on yourself.
Not Kid Rock.
They're both friends with Kid Rock.
Oh my God.
Do I not have to make my message clearer here? They're obviously Republican.
Yeah.
And it obviously affects your taste in stuff.
But they're like too afraid to deep dive into like just fully owning that they're Republican. As Buttons
Yeah,
would
it's
say.
like they're not
Say it with your chest.
They're not saying it with their chest.
No, yeah.
There's 8,000 interviews with you telling variations of the same stories. And to me, what most journalists, if I'm a journalist at this point, miss is the real experience of being in a big band.
Oh, yeah. And
Like, you know what I mean?
know it more than
They
you.
want to hear that. They want to hear the night that the groupie broke in through the skylight.
See? He's looking for dirt.
Yeah, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? He fucking glazed him over and he's pretending like
And we're only 16 minutes in.
right. He's saying like, people don't really get what it's really like, This is oh my god.
Well, then he starts giving examples almost to like inspire
he's
him to
feeding-
bring up his own like crazy story that fits
Yeah.
into that.
Exactly.
What's your arc in this thing? Not even related to the Bon Jovi years. Like, what's your arc in this thing? Like, what's your version of your story? Like,
Just that
kid makes good.
I
Or,
understand.
It's like I don't fucking know. It ain't that.
Yeah, he's
deep.
trying to feed him kid makes good or what? What are we gonna go with here?
Yeah.
And it just got,
of course,
one night just passed
of course you do. But I'm.
Oh, that one.
Of course you do.
Miracles, please.
Yeah, and that's
I like this lyric in this song. I really like the song a lot.
Okay, so what I got from that was he was just trying to deliver a story right there, or at least get some type of who are you? What do you want to be known as? And this guy's like, bro, it ain't that deep. I don't really got anything for you. But instead of overtly saying that, he tried. And then they're like, moving along. Let's talk about this song. Oh, that's crazy.
I'm not trying to put thoughts in your brain, so that's why I'm asking you. But it seems like
What? What? You were literally. That's what this 100% feels like the entire time. It feels like you're trying to put thoughts in his brain. I just feel like I'm being lied to watching this.
I'm not even talking about you leave that situation behind. I'm talking about at some point you're going to be alone on a Sunday. You look in the mirror and you gotta find something to hold on to.
It feels a little weird, I'm just gonna say it, for Billy Corgan to be explaining Richie Sambora's lyrics to Richie Sambora. Like, if there was a super deep meaning there or something, like, wouldn't Richie just come out and start saying that? It doesn't seem like it's necessary for Billy Corgan to break it down to the person who wrote it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. So when Richie didn't give him the response that he wanted, he started then explaining Richie's lyrics to Richie.
Oh god.
And Richie's just like,
Painful.
Yeah, it is what it is, bro.
Yeah.
It just feels so unnecessary. Last question.
And I'm not looking for dirt. I'm looking for an opinion.
Oh yeah.
looking for dirt.
Oh yeah.
He knows.
He knows.
He knows.
You're exposed, William. You're so exposed, bro.
Because there's been multiple instances throughout this interview where Billy's like, I'm not looking for dirt. I'm not trying to put ideas in your head. I'm not trying to suggest things. And then he finally calls him out. Before he got like the most marginal amount of pushback. And
Yeah.
then finally he's like, no, you are.
Really not
He's
that
looking for dirt.
I'm not that
I'm only
interested.
kidding.
No, you're not.
No.
I love this interview, by the way.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for asking me because
Wait. He just cuts him off. Billy was like, I got one more question. He's like, no, you're looking for dirt. I really love this interview. I gotta go. Let's see if he can get that last question in.
If a band is 70% music and 30% business, or 60-40, you know what I mean?
Let's go. Say it.
At some point, did that dial get to become too much about business and not enough?
Say it with your whole
Does that
chest.
make sense?
yes,
Obviously, it makes sense. He's bright enough to understand a very simple concept between art and commerce. That's what this whole episode's been about, right?
And that was the most roundabout, glazy way to ask, when did you guys get too corporate?
Yeah.
Like, why did you have to use all those words? It was a simple question.
but not to me. It wasn't that.
No, but I'm saying with the people you were in business with, did you feel that they got too much about business and less about music?
He just moved the goalpost of the question.
Right.
He picked up on Richie saying, "Oh, I wasn't selling out. That's me.
Yeah.
That's I'm a fucking cornball, right?"
Right.
And Billy's saying, "Oh no, that's not what I meant," even though it is what he meant. And he shifts the question to, "No, but
around you.
yeah, you were surrounded by nefarious influences. You were putting demons in your mind and drugs in your veins. You know, like Fuck you, Billy Corgan. You're an asshole.
I just don't get who this interview's even for.
You feel that
Okay,
way.
so you were good with that.
I was good with that.
Okay.
I was more. It was.
You were good with
it was
making
stale.
corny corporate schlock.
All right, I think we can conclude here.
Yeah,
I
this is-
don't
we
think
did
we're
it.
gonna do anything crazy after that. For myself, I want to say in this conclusion here.
Yeah, conclude us, JQ, and then we'll
If you-
switch.
If you love these bands and you're a fan of these bands, I'm not out here to yuck your yum. You can enjoy what you want, but we're here to call a spade what a spade is. And for me personally, I just don't really understand the point of this. Kind of like what Shmoo was referencing previously. It feels like this is just an opportunity for Billy Corgan to hang out with these people and say, like, look, here, I'm doing this podcast. I've got these notable guests.
Where like,
It
it's
must be
based, it's like
successful.
Joe Rogan for music.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Where the Joe Rogan experience has become a jerk off fest for oligarchs and just the worst cretins that walk this earth that are doing horrible things.
But even with Joe Rogan, there's
Yeah.
like a level or element to it that has depth, whereas this, it feels so surface level and
I
that, like
agree.
they were
Yep.
just jerking each other off. There was a few moments where they just weren't
Yep.
even saying anything at all.
Yeah, Billy is virtue signaling deepness without actually giving you deepness,
Yeah, there's no depth there. It's very surface level.
which is exactly my complaint about his music.
Right.
Beautiful
right.
way to ban.
Yeah, it goes roundabout right there.